All right. So, hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to our weekly Mindset Mastery session. Thank you for everyone who has hopped on. While you're here, just let me know in the chat where you are connecting from. It's always important for us to know that while we may live different places, we are really just all knowledge seekers, I like to call us, in our little ecosystem. The knowledge that we're seeking is building our French fluency. So happy you could join us. We have from Toronto in the house. Welcome, Oshawa as well. Welcome in. Thank you guys for joining. And we're gonna dive in today. So this is our weekly mindset mastery. Now, today I'm wanting to show you guys that a lot of language acquisition, it starts in one place that we don't talk about enough, and that's up here in the mind. Many times when I'm working with adults who are trying to learn French, I hear a lot of similar conversations and comments like, oh, I'm too old to learn now, or I wish I stuck with French. Many of you have children who are in French schools or want to use French for their career or travel, all different reasons, but there's always something happening where you're not quite sure that you can do it. So that's what these weekly sessions will address. And today we're going to speak specifically about overcoming language learning blockers. So I want you guys to take notes. Feel free to, of course, engage in the chat. And like I said, 30 minutes and you guys will be good to go. All right. So learning French, I want to start off with this. Learning French is not just about memorizing words or phrases. So often we think, oh, as long as I can know these keywords, like Duolingo might teach us, we'll know how to use it in real life. So Duolingo is a part of it. Okay, Duolingo can come into the mix, but it's really about shifting our perspective and how we think and approach challenges, period. So this is beyond French. French comes into play, but our mind needs to be a certain way, get to be a certain way, how we think about challenges overall. Your mindset can either be your biggest ally, so it can either work in your favor or your biggest obstacle. So today we're just going to highlight three main things. We're going to talk about the common blockers in language learning. There's some common blockers. We'll address them, okay? Secondly, we're going to share practical strategies to overcome them. So if you are trying to learn French and learn it for real, there's got to be things that you are doing on an ongoing basis and strategies that will help you get to that goal. And then finally, you're going to leave feeling motivated. That is my hope on the weekly mindset mastery class. Leave feeling motivated and empowered to tackle challenges head on. Does that sound good? That sound good, guys? Type a one in the chat if that sounds good. And we're going to get into what we know are the top blockers in language learning. All right. So the first one is fear of making mistakes. How many times have I met with other learners who are maybe learning French? I call it learning French in the dark, learning French behind the scenes, but you don't want to practice with someone maybe at your workplace or someone that you know that could speak French, even if it's your child's teacher, your colleague, because you have a fear of making mistakes. Now, that's a common blocker, okay? You don't want to sound wrong. Many of you struggle with the pronunciation. French is so physical. You have to move your mouth a certain way to get the sound out, but it doesn't come like this. It takes repetition, it takes practice. You don't want to feel judged. Now, the root cause of this is, is our own internal mindset. It's our own internal self-talk where we are aiming for perfection right off the gate, okay? And the fear of embarrassment. So that's where that fear of making mistake is deep rooted in these two things. Now, how does that impact you? It impacts you because it leads to hesitation and less speaking practice. If you are operating from a place of feeling you have to be perfect to try, or you're going to feel embarrassed, that feeling is the starting point for you, then you're going to get less speaking practice. And that completely goes against the purpose of language learning and acquisition and how to get better is through the practice. To the frequency is where we're going to get to that level of pronunciation perfection, of fluency, of comprehension, all of the beautiful things that the language will give you in return once you give into it. Okay. Now, here's some solutions for that. I want to talk about solutions. So we need to reframe mistakes. Our team, okay, and some of our instructors are on the call today. We always speak amongst ourselves and we say, if only everyone could accept the fact we want them to make mistakes. Mistakes are not viewed as failures, they're actually stepping stones. So there's no way, think about even anything you do in your life that you can be course corrected on if you aren't making the mistake. Okay. So use it as stepping stones. When you go for it, when you try that pronunciation, you're going to get a chance to learn something new and get the right way of doing it. Okay. So, one actionable tip I want to give for all of those who are stuck in the fear of making mistakes is I want you to challenge yourself, okay, to say one imperfect sentence a day. Now, that's a big one. That's a big one because you're having to say something and you're probably not going to be perfect. And it's something that I don't want you to stay silent about. If you have to start off with recording that one
One
sentence on your
sentence on
phone,
the phone.
do it. If it has to do with you maybe knowing someone that you can voice note and say, this is my French sentence that I'm working on, do it. And then as you get through that process, you will be more comfortable and remove this fear of making a mistake. Okay. Now, the second one is lack of retention. Okay. Lack of retention is a common blocker because we always want to crash. What is that term we use when we were in school? Like we want to study and cram all the information. Okay? It's it's very much ineffective because we're forgetting vocabulary or the grammar rules. So we're just trying to memorize and spit back out, but then there's going to be words that you're not aware where they go, and then there's grammar rules, the tenses matter, okay? And that's important because the root cause of that is overloading your brain. So you think you can do, oh, let me do who knows, 4 week intensive French class, overload the brain, maybe pass that test, maybe pass that exam you're trying to do. But then when someone asks you something or is trying to interact with you in French, you can't really put the pieces together. So we're looking now for removing frustration, okay, and a feeling of going in circles. How many of you have tried to learn French before and it's just something's not sticking? You're getting back to square one. We've got some solutions for you. So, one of the solutions I'll offer is using active recall. So, when you practice recalling words and phrases rather than passively reviewing it, do not just take something, like I said, use it on a one use case and never again. You've got to practice remembering what things are. And even if it starts with basic vocabulary, knowing that a water bottle, the word bouteille is a bottle, okay? Knowing phone is téléphone, basic things that you see all the time, making sure you're doing your own little practice. I always tell our students, as you take a walk or observe along your day, call things out that you know the French version of. Do it for your own practice, okay? And do it so that things are sticking and retaining. Now, I also want you to make it personal. When you make things personal, you're tying new words to your life. For example, when you're learning maison, which means house, imagine describing your home in French. So, step one is just knowing, okay, house is maison. That's going to bring your mind to a house. All right. Then, more than likely, you're going to think of what things are in the house. So, make it practical to you. We don't need anyone learning political speeches when it comes to French fluency. Okay. You don't need to be parliament and switch back and forth like we see our politicians do. Okay. You just need to start off by tying French application to your actual life. That's how you start to retain things and make associations that are relevant to you. Now, the third piece is self-doubt and comparison. Salut, Eduardo. Bienvenue. So one of the common blockers is thinking, I'll never be good as someone else. How many times do you hear someone in another French class or maybe online? You're like, oh my goodness, you're so good. I'm not even going to try. Okay, you're so good. I'm not even entering the conversation. Now, that's an issue because comparison is going to right away hinder your progress to others, and it's setting unrealistic expectations. You don't know how many years someone has put into the study of something. You don't know how much practice they're getting and how they've gotten to the level they're at. And very often, guys, if you are a true French speaker, sometimes they're making mistakes. There are people where we say wrong tenses sometimes. We don't know all the words in the whole wide world when it comes to French language. So don't compare your progress to others. Okay. It leads to demotivation and quitting. And we always say that comparison is a thief of joy. You're on your own French learning journey. So have that in mind, know your goal. And if you do meet someone more advanced than you, use that as a chance to practice. Like I said, put it out there. Say, hey, you know what? I'm just starting to learn, but can we just have a little chit chat? Let's see if I can use this in real life. Okay, those are the approaches that I would encourage for you guys. And the solution, like I said, is focus on your journey. So your pace is the right pace. Now, if you really want to learn French, you're going to be consistent. Okay. You're going to celebrate those small wins and they're going to add up to really big progress. And think of it this way, every word I learn brings me closer to fluency. Every word I learn brings me closer to fluency. Drop a 2 in the chat, guys, if this is all making sense to you and if you can kind of relate to some of these that we're seeing. And we're moving on to part 2, okay? Just 3 parts today, guys. So part 2 is about combating blockers with mindset strategies. So I want everyone to have, above all, the strongest this, okay? Your mindset. Now, shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. I'll give you some examples. A fixed mindset says, I'm just not good at languages. You ever heard that? Like, oh, it's not my thing. I don't get it. A growth mindset says, every effort I make helps my brain go stronger. I'm about getting my brain stronger. Don't know about you guys, but that's a lot of what we encourage here. Making your brain grow stronger through doing things that are challenging, through making an effort, through putting yourself out there. Okay. Now, a practical exercise I'd recommend for you guys is to write down one thing you struggled with last week. Okay. Then write down how you overcame it or what you learned. That's a part of the learning loop. Okay. What am I not good at? Being able to understand that and how you overcame it is really a big win for you. Okay. Secondly, I'll discuss visualization techniques. Now, visualization techniques are really important because you have to picture yourself doing it. You have to picture, listen, I want to learn French and I can see myself having a smooth conversation in French. Is this hard to do? Yeah. Because if we're operating from a place of fear and embarrassment, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't roll my R's, or I'm not good at saying certain sounds, then yeah, this will be hard. But I want you to get into this practice of visualizing yourself having smooth conversations in French. Picture the places, people, and scenarios where you'll use French confidently. I don't know who likes what on this call just yet, but I love travel. I am gonna admit, I love travel to places that speak French. And there's this beautiful luxury store in Paris. There's many guys, but visualizing me going to this luxury store and purchasing, being able to interact with the people there, even if you were just browsing, what a feeling. Can you guys, what a feeling. It is just such a special thing. I get chills thinking about it, but visualize where you want to be speaking French. Is it with your colleague, someone that you even want to just say a quick good morning to, right? Someone that you can maybe have like a small chit chat to practice. Visualize how you want to do and how you want to be with the French language. Okay. Now, a guided exercise is I want you guys to, and we'll see if, yeah, we have a couple minutes for it. So I want you guys we're going to do it for like a minute. Okay. I want you to close your eyes. Close your eyes if you can, if you're not driving. I want you guys to close your eyes and imagine ordering food fluently in a Parisian cafe. or in French-speaking Africa, or in Montreal, Quebec, or in Quebec City. Literally, the waiter coming to you and you going off of a menu because you're reading words that you have learned to pronounce and your syllables, you've learned to break it down. Imagine that happening and them bringing you the thing you ordered. Okay, now let's come back. Let's come back to that. So these are things, guys, while we might not be used to doing exercises when it comes to language, it might just seem so like in your face, language, language, language. Like I said, a lot of it starts up here. So when we're training up here on a weekly basis on Thursdays, it's about having the right mindset, getting a strong up here to then execute towards the French fluency goal. Okay. Now, the third piece is set micro goals. So don't come in here and say, Elise, by end of December, I need to be having fluent conversations. I could say, okay, but I also tell you at the same time, French is not this magic, it's not a magic wand. So even if you are prepping for an exam or a test or there is a goal, French language, true acquisition of the language, it's going to be ongoing. You're always going to, even if you do a course for French, you are always going to have to be in implementation mode and even experimental mode and even passive learning mode. And that comes through setting micro goals for yourselves. So break your learning into smaller, achievable steps. I want you guys to be able to celebrate what may feel like baby steps. I remember, and I'll share this with you guys, when I could not, okay, so just fun scientific fact that you didn't ask, but I will share. So the R, you guys know en français, there's a R that is so important, right? So R in French, it is literally a make or break. Like literally you're an Anglophone sounding if you can't nail that R. So I remember being so insecure, and I'm sharing this. Scientifically, you're either born with the ability to roll your tongue, like you know, the R sound. You can either roll your tongue or you can't. Okay? Look it up. You either can or you cannot. So it's not like, oh, Elise, train yourself and you'll find the R. No, you won't. So I remember being in university and going away to Quebec for a summer to do a course. And the professor blew my mind. He taught us, like we were in the advanced French class, and he taught us without even me saying out front, like, listen, I don't know if like my R's. And he gave us this really great technique. He said, you have to find that R sound. It has to be in your throat. Like there's a way to make the R sound happen without being born with the ability to do it. Now, that's something we're going to be teaching in our pronunciation classes. Even for our younger students that we work with, we have a really fun technique that we do. I'll show you guys quickly. Like you take a pen or a pencil safely, okay? You put it in your mouth. You hold it there, like you press down on it with your back teeth, and you say air, like you're saying AIR, okay? And that sound is that practice, okay? Air, it's training your throat how to make the R sound. I know it sounds bizarre, but try it, guys. Try it later on, okay? So those things, micro steps, man, I want to nail that R sound. Do I ever want to be able to at least have a opening conversation with someone in French? Small steps, achievable steps. That's what we're after. So instead of you saying, I'll master French, say, you know what? I am good to do 5 new phrases this week, 5 new vocabulary words if you're beginner. And track your wins in a journal or an app to stay motivated. Do not underestimate the power of writing it down, or even a fun thing sometimes. Like I was at the airport recently, and even just understanding like the bilingual language, right? You see the French, you see the English. So even just training your mind, like, okay, I'm just learning, but I see welcome to Canada, right? And what's beside it? Bienvenue. Oh, that's welcome. Okay, like making your associations. Start to pay attention. We live in a place, most of us, where French and English, it's in your face everywhere. But I want you to now start to pay more attention. Okay? So I want to leave you guys with 3 affirmations that we're going to practice to say out loud. Okay, whether you're at home or wherever you are, when we say things, I truly believe we become it. What you say, you become. French is too hard? Yes, it's too hard. I can learn French and get fluent. Yes, you can learn French and get fluent. So I want us to get in the mindset of having a positive outlook on our ability to learn French. Some of us aren't coming in from scratch. We're just looking to get more practice. I need to practice more. I need to be a little bit more comfortable with my on the fly French. If Madame enters the room and she's like, oh, okay, Eduardo, ça va? Like you can go, yeah, ça va. And how was your day? And you can do it in French. We all have different goals, but we have to train our minds. How are we going to get to that goal? How are we going to put a little bit, pour a little bit into us, remove any fears, and just trust the process that French learning is possible for you? Okay. So let's start off with our first mantra. So our first mantra, we're going to say, you can stay off mute. That's okay. We'll say, I am capable of learning French. And maybe in the future, we'll do these in French, guys. I am capable of learning French. Got to tell yourself. Yeah. Second mantra, you can even write it down or take a screenshot. Okay. Use this for the rest of your few days. Every effort I make gets me closer to fluency. Every effort I make gets me closer to fluency. And finally, mistakes are a sign of progress. Mistakes are a sign of progress. Beautiful. Well done, everyone. So, as we mentioned, today was very much about us putting it out there that everyone faces blockers, okay? The key is how you tackle them. So, no one is coming into this space of our French Fluency Academy with a know it all. I mean, the know it alls, we don't really have space for the know it alls because everyone is in a knowledge seeking mindset and everyone wants to get better at something and has a goal they're working towards. I also want you guys to begin to shift your mindset. We spoke about embracing challenges, not fearing them. Okay. And I also invite you to reflect after today's call. When you think about French, what blockers have you faced recently? What blockers have you faced recently? And how do you think what we learned today, what we spoke about today, is actually going to help you? Okay. So just remember that learning a language isn't just about words, it's about growth. We don't want you to learn something that is going to go in one ear, out the other. It's about progress, one step at a time. And just know that we're here to support you every step of the way. And there's our mindset mastery for today, guys.